unique opportunity to catch up with someone brand new at The Informer. In fact, not only a new contributor, but someone you'll see on a regular basis hosting a number of different programs. Her name is Melody Horrill. Let's find out a bit more about Melody. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, George.
You like that intro? Not only a contributor, but so much more.
I loved it. I loved it. Of course, you and I go back a little way, don't we?
We do, actually. And on the subject of going back, let's reflect. Let's take you back to the source. Mum and Dad and you arrived with the rest of the family, or just the three of you?
No, there was myself, my mum, my father, and my brother Mark.
Your brother Mark. Is he older or younger?
He was an older brother.
All right, you've lost him.
I have indeed.
We deepest sympathies. So the four of you came to Australia in the 70s. Did you have any idea what was around the corner?
No,
Did they give you a clue that we're going to Australia?
Look, I knew that we were going to Australia. I remember being on the plane and my two older sisters decided to stay in the UK and crying on the plane because I was leaving my two older sisters.
Wow.
So that's a memory I have of my journey to Australia.
Okay, so where'd you land?
We landed in Adelaide.
Okay, so interesting place to choose. Adelaide at that time in the 70s would have had, I suppose, some of the biggest headquarters of big companies from right around the country. It was a business hub in many ways. It may not be that today. It would like to return to those glory days, but the Adelaide Steamship Company, the Advertiser was cooking. There were a host of other companies. Adelaide was a tremendously rich place to land.
It was, and a very diverse place. There was lots of people sharing the hostel that we were staying in from all different parts of the world. And, it wasn't an easy ride. As you're aware, things were pretty difficult at home. And, leaving my two sisters in the UK was also very difficult. So we settled at South Brighton in Adelaide in a small weatherboard house. My brother, myself, and my mother and my father.
Wow, pretty part of the world though. That is a gorgeous part of Adelaide, Brighton. And South Brighton is lovely. So when did you get this bug to be, a journalist? Because I remember you and I worked together at the 10 Network. I remember seeing you first, I think, was it 7? You were part of the 7 Network, I think, before you came to us at 10?
No, it's the other way around, George.
Was it the other way around?
I was with 10 before I ended up at 7, so...
Memories play wonderful tricks, don't they?
They do, yes.
In the timeline, the juxtaposition occasionally plays tricks. So you joined us at 10 from where?
I had been at Channel 9, so I pretty much worked for everybody.
Okay,
apart from SBS, I have to say, unlike you.
There you go. And I remember coming to Adelaide primarily to do just the 1 year, to get them through that change, and the news anchors had left. They'd made a decision to move on. And what I didn't know was that Sir Charles Curran, who owned Perth, Adelaide and Canberra, was busy preparing behind the scenes to grab the 3, join them and sell them to the 10 Network for a lot of money. And I got caught right in the middle of that. That was an interesting tussle. But you were at 9. When I arrived, were you at 9?
When you arrived, I had just come over from Channel 9.
Right, wow. What was it like at the 9 Network? Because 10th Street, the hub, it was the 9 Network under the Lamb family had built quite a reputation for itself. Top rating, a number of great stars, some great characters, some really wonderful people, and a pretty busy sales team that got out there and did a whole lot of work.
It was great. It was a locally owned, it was a family owned business. It was very tough. The chief of staff at that point and the news director were old school and very tough on the young reporters. You had to listen to scanners overnight. You basically brought everybody coffee. You worked your way up, and I was a young reporter at that point.
You earned your stripes.
I did.
I'm wondering if some of the newsrooms today quite understand the hierarchy and the way it used to work. It wasn't perfect, but one thing you did know, that there was a hierarchy in place. And if you worked your butt off and if you were good, normally, more often than not, you'd get the nod and you'd get a chance. My situation was a little bit different at SBS. There had been no history know where to land, or everything was brand new. And in my case, it was a case of I had a fabulous team created around me to help me lift and grow. So the first time I'd left the SBS was to go to Nine, and it was quite a transition going from a very supportive newsroom to one where it was like Channel 9. It was the fittest, survival of the toughest. There was a hierarchy, but there were some wonderful people. Brian Henderson was sensational, and Eric Walters and others were just great people. There were a few duds, but we leave them alone. I think there are duds in each and every business, whether it's the media or not. And you cope and you survive and you do whatever. So when did you come to us at 10? I'm trying to remember. Yeah,
it was 1999.
Good year, 1999.
It was a good year, and the terrific thing about 10 was it set me off the leash. The news director at the time, Grant Heading, just said to me, Mel, you go and chase the stories that you want to chase. At
Fantastic.
That time, I was the environment reporter at Channel 9, and that was my passion because of my background with the dolphins.
Of course, now that takes me back to do that story. That those dolphins changed your life in a remarkable way. I got many years ago, I got to swim with the dolphins, and I've got to say it was one of the richest experiences I've ever had. Whether you like to admit it or not, they have an electricity that surrounds them, and if you're in the water with them, they make you feel 10 foot tall. It's just remarkable. Tell us about your story, your opportunity to tell the dolphin story in Adelaide, in the Port River.
I became involved with the dolphins when I was at university. I'd had a pretty difficult time at home with my parents and my father eventually going to jail for attacking my mother. It's a very long story.
So domestic violence was right in your wheelhouse, as they say, from very early on. Wow.
Very early on, living with it basically my entire life.
Is it fair to say, do you think, that we have an epidemic in this country? It's been around for a while, but I think it's very much more in the gaze of everyone. We're seeing it, we're hearing it. But I think it used to happen and people would not talk about it. Do you think it is now much healthier that we're hearing about it? And that way, if we hear about it, we can do something about it?
I'd like to think so, George, but it's still a bit of a taboo subject. It does make people feel uncomfortable. I came out with my story in The Australian a couple of weeks ago, and the reason I did that was to help the Port River dolphins because they're now in trouble again. The baby dolphins are dying and the numbers are dwindling, so I wanted to raise the issue. But I also wanted to raise the issue of domestic violence and how my involvement with the dolphins really helped me heal from that very dark period of time.
So take us back, reflect, and remind those of us who haven't had a chance to read the tome in the article in the paper. Give us a bit more of what's happening with the Port River. Are we still not awake to the challenges of pollution? Are we not understanding that we're putting an enormous strain on the river?
Well, the Port River was actually declared Australia's first dolphin sanctuary in 2005.
So why are we having problems still?
Why we're having problems, this is what we need to find out. The fact of the matter is that the number of calves dying it's just terrible. There's 1 in 13 calves surviving.
Have they established why?
No, we need to find out why. The South Australian Museum does need more money for toxicology
testing of
the babies.
Yep.
The state government, I have to say, have reduced the speed limits in the area because of boat strikes with the dolphins, and have been really open to looking at other ways to fix the situation.
And we have the other thing too with environmental vandals who feel that it's their right to pursue these dolphins, which is just shameful behaviour. But we're seeing it, we're hearing it and seeing it. It's terrible.
It is terrible behaviour, but we also only have in the Port River 3 part-time rangers. Now, when that dolphin sanctuary was first declared, there was double the amount. The previous government reduced it to 3 part-time rangers covering an area from Adelaide to Victor Harbour, which is hundreds of square kilometres of water. So 3 part-time people. And so we need more resources in that area, more rangers to be out there visible, not stopping people from enjoying the river and taking advantage, because it is a beautiful place, but just making sure that the dolphins are being looked after, that people are being respectful. And
have you had any overtures from the government who, following the article, that maybe we should be doing something? Let's get together and talk about it?
The state government and I, the Environment Minister and I have been talking.
That's good.
And he does appear to be really keen to find a solution. I've offered my services up as an independent.
You're going to become independent ranger.
Well, someone who's been involved with the dolphins for many, many years.
Talk to me about the therapeutic qualities, the cathartic component of the dolphin in your life.
Jock, the dolphin of my life.
Yeah.
Look, I got to know Jock. He was an orphaned dolphin. He didn't have any social skills, spent all his time alone in the river, badly disfigured dorsal fin, yes. And I spent time with Jock, and I connected with him because I was somewhat lost and alone at that point too, following the domestic violence with my father and my mother. And I needed something to connect with, and here was this dolphin who was accepting me for who I was.
Fantastic.
He was lonely, he felt disconnected, I was lonely, I felt disconnected, and yet we connected. We knew that him becoming close to us.
How did you get that first touch, that first moment when you see Jock and Jock sees you? I mean, how did that come about?
I was a research assistant on Mike Bosley's research program, who was looking after the Port River dolphins.
So you're out in the boat?
Out in the boat, research trip. There was this solitary dolphin circling a boat.
Yeah. Did he look agitated? Did Jock look?
No, he just looked bored and disconnected, and
then he thought,
in
hello.
his own world, he came over and said hello. Mike accidentally dropped an oar into the water. Jock came over, he swam up to the oar, and he basically pushed it back to our boat.
How fantastic.
This was a completely wild animal.
Yeah.
That we didn't feed, we didn't coerce, who wanted to engage with us.
Wow.
And over a period of months, many, many months,
you built a rapport.
We built a rapport with this dolphin, and we ended up using it to actually help him integrate back into the other dolphins and meet the other dolphins, the other pods. So we led him out to other dolphins in the Port River, where eventually he ignored us to go and swim with his dolphin mates, which was both liberating and fantastic, and also very sad.
So I think they knew what was going on. They were spying, and Jock would have been taking a good look, going, let me go and stir these guys.
Look,
Did you have a film? Did you film it?
Yeah, it's all been filmed. I did a documentary while I was at Channel 10 on Jock, which I took to CNN.
Yep.
And that actually helped result in the then South Australian government declaring a dolphin sanctuary.
What a gorgeous film.
And Mike's work, of course, very important. We showcased the Port River dolphins to the world, and something I'm very proud of, being a part of, obviously.
But it's unfinished business.
It is unfinished business.
You've got work to do.
I do, and I'm still very passionate about the dolphins. I'm very passionate about the Port River. I also understand that it is a river that people love and enjoy, so there does need to be that balance between having and enjoying that environment, but also ensuring that the dolphins are protected.
You live in Melbourne now?
I do.
Yeah, the Bay has some dolphins. You get out there and follow them at all?
No, I don't.
You should.
Unfortunately, perhaps I should. My heart, though, George, is still with the Port River Dolphins.
Dear.
It is.
You mean to tell me you don't want to upset Jock? Listen, if we can somehow broker some sort of natural shift and move, maybe you should get out there and do a story for us.
I'd love to go out there and do a dolphin story.
What sort of stories are you going to do for us on The Informer?
Sky's the limit, really, isn't it, George?
I think so.
I think it depends on very much what you let me do.
I think I should let you do anything you want to do.
That'd be a first now, wouldn't it?
Yes, but I think the time's come. I think you're old enough, you're talented enough, and you're mature enough to do anything you want to do. Look, I as a father of a daughter, I remember saying to her every step of the way, you can do whatever you want. Sometimes, though, even though you keep saying it to them, they don't believe it. Do you know what I mean? I can remember the first time I took her to the Adelaide Zoo, and we went in, and she was very young. It would have been 3.5. And of course, hello George, wherever you go, because we were working at Channel 10 those days. My daughter turns to me, she says, "Do you know everybody, Dad?" I said, "No, darling, I don't, but they know your father." And that stuck. You know what she's doing with herself these days? Aside from working for Bauer Media, she's also doing improv, stand-up comedy.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly right.
So she obviously got a sense of humour from your side of the family.
Look, she's got a fantastic platform there, but I don't know how she's wanted to embrace it. Maybe she's got plenty to say. I remember someone said to her, "Why stand up?" She said, "Because my father gives me so much material."
But that's perfect. That's what good
we're
stand-up comedy is all about.
We're going to give you plenty of material now to go out there and do what you want to do.
I hope so, George. I'm looking forward to it. I've taken a break from my usual work.
Yeah, we should also add, and of course, Melody works for the Bureau of Meteorology, and she's taken a sabbatical. What was it like working at the BOM? B-O-M, the Bureau of Met.
It was the BOM,
Yeah?
George. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta love the weather.
We've got. Is it a case of whenever you step out now and look up, you think, yeah, stormy skies, great clouds?
I was a weather presenter for more than 10 years,
Yeah,
George. So
do you ever get it out of your system?
No, you don't.
It's there.
It's there.
Do you feel you're driving along and you're doing a weather forecast?
Everybody asks you. It's the first thing they ask you.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating. You know,
Yes.
when I was presenting the weather for 7 and actually for 10, in
Yep.
fact, I remember throwing back to you on my very first live cross. I was filling in for lovely Jane Riley. I was terrified. My knees were knocking. I was shaking, and I threw back to the great George Donikian. And do you remember what you said to me, George?
No.
Oh, well, I do.
Tell me.
You said, "Thank you, Melody. Looking forward to Jane coming back."
How cruel, unfinished business. I apologise. I hope. Do you know someone, Matt, who was it? Matt Doran?
Yes.
Remember when he joined us? He did a stand-up for us, and he was, as you say, he reflects now, and he tells me he was mortified because he'd been thrown out there because we needed someone to report on the scene. And his knees were knocking. Yeah. His mouth was dry. He was trying to salivate, and he said his brain went into neutral. He didn't know what to say. We got through that, and I remember saying to him, ringing him afterwards and saying to him, "Listen, we all go through those moments. Don't let it worry you. Yeah, it's like a rite of passage." Well, he's done fabulously well. He's gone overseas. He's worked for some of the biggest networks. I think he's working for 7 these days. So those moments, we all go through them.
We do.
Yeah?
There's nothing more terrifying than your very first live cross.
Yeah, or doing anything for the first time.
That's true.
And if it doesn't catch and go smoothly, there's always a chance something might happen. And can. It's like, oh my God. Well, I look forward to, as they say, seeing your first foray into the Informer, right? And finding out what sort of subjects you want to cover, because there's so much more that we want to do. One of the things that people don't readily understand about the Informer, it was created with a view to covering all those stories that the newspapers that we saw vanishing right across Australia. We thought this might be a news platform that can pick up and cover those stories. And we can also give life to long form interviews in a fashion that we are no longer seeing on mainstream media. So this is a terrific opportunity. So welcome, girl. Welcome.
Thank you. I think it's great that we're giving people who wouldn't normally have a voice, we're also giving them a voice. And
that's true.
That's very powerful, George.
Yeah, it is, very much so. Melody Horrill joining us, and you got a sense of the woman behind the scenes. passionate about so many things, and you'll hear her passion come through in almost any and every story that she does for The Informer. If you want to know more about The Informer, if you like what we've done today, make sure you check us out. It's theinformer.tv. And of course, make sure you subscribe.